hope you're doing well and welcome back to another video. Okay, so in today's video I'm going to be doing my June wrap-up of all the books I read in the month of June, which is also Pride Month. The first book I read was The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I don't think I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, but I'm sorry. And it was translated by Alan R. Clark. And the main reason I got this in the first place from the shop is because it has this little like thing. It's not by the author, I don't know who it's by, to be honest, but it says, because sometimes we all need a little magic, and it says James, and my name's James. So I was like, what are the chances? I gave this a 3 stars. So his writing style is very like descriptive and vivid and nice to read. Like, it's, you know, you're in the moment sort of like thing, and it's like telling all these like pretty things and stuff, and yeah, it's quite easy to follow. However, it gets quite repetitive, certain like things, like certain points and stuff, and that isn't really a good thing to say about a book this short, that it's repetitive and that quite a lot of it I feel could have been omitted, in my opinion. But yeah, but basically we follow the story of a shepherd boy called Santiago, who has like his like vision, sort of like dream, that he's gonna get into like fortune sort of thing, and then he meets with like a king or a homeless person or something in Spain, and then they're like, oh, follow your dream, you know, go to Morocco and, you know, go to Egypt, go to the pyramids. So he was like, all right then. So he sells his sheep, and then he goes to Morocco, and then he goes through like Algeria and like the Sahara, and lots of things different happen. He meets an alchemist, if you didn't get that, and yeah. And yeah, the ending kind of like irked me a bit, because I was like, yeah, it's like nice and all, like, you know, but it just annoyed me. And that's all I'm gonna say. And also, I'm not really the biggest into like religious, like spiritual sort of like literature and themes and ideals. So, but I feel like if you are, then it is one that you would like, maybe. It just really wasn't for me. And yeah, you know, I thought it has quite a lot of hype, and I'm like, okay. The next one is not the whole of this thing, because I still haven't got to the one I actually want, but this is my Oscar Wilde stories collection that I got for 33p. Amazing. Well, it's £3 for a pound. And yeah, so anyway, the thing I actually read this month, because I haven't got to read any others, was The Happy Prince and Other Tales, which is like a little like short story collection. So I read all the ones in it. Also like these like moral like undercurrents within the stories, which are like really nice to read and understand, and yeah. But okay, I'm just gonna look on my laptop because I need my notes. But he uses like language to evoke like emotions and like things within you. Like, it's very like nice. And he like paints like a very like vivid like description of what's happening. Okay, so the first story is The Happy Prince, and this one follows a little swallow, which is a bird who is flying back from somewhere to Egypt, and he's like, okay, I'm just having a little rest for a minute, and he goes to like the feet of this statue of this happy prince that's all in like gold and jewels and stuff that the town have made to like celebrate the prince, who I think died, I'm not sure, but anyway. And then the prince is like, the statue is like crying, and the swallow's like, why are you crying, love? And he's like, oh, there's all like so much bad things going on in my city, like, oh, I'm so sad. And he's like, oh, could you do me a little favor and spread my jewels, spread my wealth, spread things. Basically he does it like over different days, and then it kind of gets a little bit sad. But anyway, that's what I'm gonna say. And it's just like about how, like, if you do good things will happen to you later, and that sort of like ideal. And it's just like, you know, about sharing, the power of sharing, the power of giving back to other people that are more in need of things. And it was just really nice. I love that one. Next one is The Nightingale and a Rose, which is about a student who's looking for a rose to give to like a girl he likes. And then like this nightingale helps him find the rose. I can't remember what else happened in that one. It was about like love and like sacrifice, sort of like ideals. And the next one was the selfish giant, who has like this really pretty garden, and then like he's all like, oh children, you can't play in my garden, but then it's just about like how other people view you and things like that. I think it was quite nice, that one. The devoted friend, this one irked me so much. I was like, what is this thing? I can't remember what are they called again. I'm sorry, I need to go into my notes. Little Hans is doing everything for his friend, the miller or something, and the miller is such like just the embodiment of toxic. Like, I just was like, why do you keep doing this? And I don't even know what it was about, to be honest, like what the like the ulterior message was of this story, but it just, that one annoyed me a lot, and I was like, why would you do this to me? Like, I'm like, ugh, I want revenge. And then the last one was the remarkable rocket. It's about these rockets that are like getting ready to be let off for a royal wedding, and then one of them's all like, oh, I'm so amazing, blah 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 blah. And yeah, and I don't think he is, yeah, I'm not sure, but anyway, the message I got is like how you shouldn't really just like, I mean, it's okay to be all like, oh, you know, I do that, I'm like good and stuff, but like if the way that you're boasting about your achievements and things is actually putting other people down, then that's not like right. And yeah, I feel like even though it was written like really long ago, this is still like such like a major thing today about like, yeah. And yeah, I like that one. Yeah, I gave the collection 4 stars, and yeah, I liked it. I'd like to read them again, and obviously I need to read the other parts of this collection. The next book I read was The Life-Changing Magic of Not Giving a FUCK. How to Stop Spending Time You Don't Have Doing Things You Don't Want to Do with People You Don't Like, by Sarah Knight. And this is like a parody of The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo. And I actually really enjoyed it. I gave it 3.75 stars. And just like you're aware, there is just a constant influx of the F word throughout, literally throughout, from the cover to cover. It's just, there's a lot of it, but like I don't think she really gives one to be honest anymore. I really liked it. It's like a sort of like self-help ish book, and I definitely need to do what she tells us to do. Basically, we're meant to go through like this, like our brain, like picture we have like a barn in our brain. We go through it, we think about all the things that we might or might not eventually give a F about, and just make like a list of all of them in different categories, from like just like banal things like ideas, and then like actually things to do with your family and stuff, and then eventually like go through each of them and be like, do I want to give you my F, or do I want to give you my F? Like, do I really care about you like enough to spend time, money and energy on these things? And then all the things that we no longer want to give an F about, unlike Marie Kondo in the KonMari method, where you say thank you to these things, you say a little quiet little F you to them and let them go. And then afterwards it's like how to actually implement that into your life, into like sort of practical ways of not giving an F to these things anymore. And I thought it was quite funny, a little bit forced at sometimes, and yeah, I do actually quite like it, and I will definitely want to start to try out some of these things, because yeah, I probably give an F about maybe too many more things I shouldn't, in a way. So yeah, the next book I read was this. Oh my god, it took me a very long time to get through this. This is If This Gets Out by Sophie Gonzalez and Kale Dykerick. It's hard to talk about this book because it's just I have opinions. I gave this book 4.25 stars, and I don't want to fat shame a book, but this is a fat, like, okay, it's not the biggest book ever. It's literally, I think, just like 404 pages long, but it is mentally fat. Oh my god, this book is so bloated. If you like, I don't understand how like a book can literally like be bloated, and it's just sometimes you're like, I can't do this. I literally can't be reading this. Like, it just, my brain is like too full up. It needs space. It needs to get away. And it's a YA. I'm like, how did this affect me so much? Like, it literally took me so long to get through it. And I was also saying I didn't like it. I did. But it was bloated. And I think, personally, in my opinion, a large chunk of it was quite a lot of repetition, a lot of this like mistreat trope, which I didn't really jam with that much. Like, I thought it was quite like difficult to read, but that was like a major part of it. And like a lot I feel like could have been removed. If the last like 60th pages was the best part of it, and I think that's what like really brought it up because of how like them parts, and if they were expanded on and followed on from there, I feel like this would have been like a lot better. Personally, the characters are very lovable, albeit problematic. So the main two we follow, and the narrative swaps between characters between Ruben and one between Zach. Zach is bisexual, and I feel like he comes to terms with it, and I feel like this is like really relatable and like very well executed. His like journey of self-discovery of his own sexuality and like relationships and how it will like affect him and things like that, and like his coming out and things, and yeah, it was really good. And then his boyfriend, in a way, is Ruben, who is gay from the start. I mean, so was Zach, but he didn't really fully recognize it. And yeah, and his mother is so toxic. Oh my god. And they're in a boy band, and the other two members of the boy band are John, who is the son of their manager, and he's just like kind of a rich person, like a rich kid sort of like thing, and he has like his whole like persona where like, I want him to be like so good because I need people to actually like me and not just be like want me for my father, in a way. And then there's Angel, who is shown to like deal with like drug and alcohol addiction problems, and I feel like this is addressed like quite well. A little bit juvenile in a sense, like some parts, but yeah. And I don't know, I really loved like how they interacted, and they were just really like nice people. And I hate this word, but like their banter and just like other things, and like when they cuddle and stuff, it's just like so cute to read. Oh, it's lovely. Like all the characters like written like very realistic, and sometimes it's like Saturday you could literally be like a real boy band. Like it honestly feels so real, and I feel like that's like done really well. And yeah, and there's quite a lot of like dialogue. I feel like it all is kind of adding up to, this should be like a TV show or a movie. I feel like if this was like adapted into either form, that would be like really like interesting to see, and I feel like it would have like a much bigger like audience as well. The next book I read is one I gave away in my last like little free library journey. You can see it there. That was Adventure According to Humphrey by Betty Burney. I gave it 3.25 stars, and it's basically about a little hamster who's in a classroom with like school children, and they're learning about pirates and boats and stuff, and he's like, oh, I really want to like go on a boat. And then like there's like different like things happening about like the power of like sharing and like what is beautiful, and yeah, it was quite good. It was obviously it it was made for children. Like it's a tiny little children's book. But I mean, it was still quite interesting to read. I wanted like a nice little story, and yeah. All I can say. The next book I read, oh my lord above me, this woman does things to my brain I don't even know. I'm not going to talk much on this because I did a whole reading vlog. You can see it there if you want. But basically, I gave this 4.75 stars. It's better than Conversations with Friends. It's not as good as Normal People in my opinion, but it is still phenomenal. I loved it. Beginning, I was like, oh my lord, this woman again is doing something to my brain. She's putting too much detail in. Like literally, there's just like page after page of just writing, and I'm like, hun, these paragraphs go on for like pages. And I'm like, this is a bit too much. This is a bit too much for my brain to handle all this information and details. However, oh my god, I loved it. I loved it. Like you can feel like you're inside these people's brains, and I thought this was really amazing. I loved it so much. Basically, we follow two couples in a way. Alice, who is a novelist, and Felix, who works on like a warehouse something in like a coastal part of Ireland. She just moved there. And then Alice's best friend in a way, Eileen, who is like I don't know what she does. She does something like design or something, I think, I'm not sure. And her like childhood like love interest, Simon, who I don't really know what he does, but basically it's about like just like their lives and what's going on, their conversations over email, which I feel like are done so amazingly well, and they're like just like thoughts on these like big ideas on like what is beauty and like how should we live, and like yeah, and about how we like, obviously there are so many big major problems going on in the world, but like when we're dying, like on our deathbed, or like when we like are like sad, or like when we're like thinking about things, we think about the people in our lives and our personal little lives, about the people that we've loved, or we didn't get a chance to love as often, or we didn't take the chance to love, or you know, people who loved us, who touched our lives, how we have touched other people's lives, our friendships, and all these little like things, like war and like a ending relationship or something. Obviously the war is like big and massive, but like we think about the little things, we do, and it's how all of these little things add up. Like every single person's little things add up to something massive, much bigger than these other like big things. And I don't feel like I'm explaining it well. It's just like, it's a mind F-U-C-K in a way. It's just like a mind, I don't know, I can't wrap my head around articulating it, because this woman just gets inside my brain and just fiddles with it and does something to it, I don't know what, and it's just amazing, like these little conversations, and they're so like real and honest, and just yeah. The characters are also relatively lovable. They're problematic, and there's a bit like and then like when Simon and Eileen come to visit Felix and Alice, I was so close to being like, I need a queer romance. I need the queer romance. The other two characters, you can go away please, thank you very much, bye bye, I need this to happen. But then I was like, no, I care about them too much. I want them all to be happy, and I feel like they are probably going to be happy if they do stay the way they are. And yeah, I loved it. And then lots of people say, because it ends in the pandemic, like the time drawn lockdown, and people were like, oh, she just like added that on. But I'm like, no, I loved it. I was like, it's such a good ending to, like, this is the best ending to her novels, like, well, she compared to the other two. It's, oh, I loved it because it wraps everything up, I feel like, a lot better than the other ones. And if it had just ended how it did before, I'd have still been left with like, oh, I don't know what's like really going on. But because it ended the way it did, I was so happy. I loved it. The only problem I have is that it is a little bit too dense, and a little bit too repetitive on like things like religion and sex, which is like, okay, I know it says it on the back, but Lord, do they have a lot of sex. They have a lot. The next book I read was This Book Could Save Your Life, Breaking the Silence Around the Mental Health Emergency by Ben West. I also did a reading vlog up there. Yeah, I actually cried quite a lot. It's just, it's quite sad. But it is, I feel like it is a necessary read. It's just a 5-star from me, which I do find it quite difficult to review a book like this. But like from a literary perspective, it is written exceptionally well. It just flows so amazingly. And then there's also like really good quotes and like sort of like takeaways and like different like things about certain like mental health conditions and stuff like that. It's like a part memoir, part self-help, part call to action sort of book. It basically follows Ben, like, okay, from like his childhood thing, and that's the bit that got me the most, thinking about what the type of man his brother Sam could have become, and like, because he was like good at like music and art and different things, and he was just like seemed such a lovely person, and this like the bits about the childhood just really got to me. And then it follows him to Sam's suicide, and then the aftermath, and like these ideas of like what is grief and what is the best way to grieve, and then him being like, what can I do? Like, what can I do to stop this happening again, and to bring awareness in like government and education and healthcare to stop this epidemic of suicides. And then it's about his like campaigning like journey, from like talking with like prime ministers and like doing like research with like universities and things. And yeah, it's a really great book. I wholeheartedly recommend it. It is quite difficult to read for sure, but at the end of the day, we're reading it, he experienced it. It's vital that we educate ourselves on these issues and do better and make change happen, because like it's all good saying, oh, the numbers of suicides have gone down or whatever, which I don't think they have, but there should be no number. It shouldn't be a thing, you know. That is a sort of like mentality we all need to get to save lives. And I struggle quite a lot with mental health, especially recently, and certain like tips and advice and things within this book I feel like I'm really gonna hope to take on board, and I also hope to become a better like friend and like support service to other people that are struggling as well. So yeah, totally recommend. 5 stars from me, and just support him as well, because he's just such a lovely person. The next book I read was Heartstopper Volume 3. If you're coming from the show, none of this has been adapted into screen yet, so it was all new for you, it was all new for me, and it's 5 stars. I mean, I feel like I cannot give any of the Heartstopper series anything less, because they're just so that cute and beautiful and lovely and relatable and amazing. I just love them so much. I love this woman so much. Anyway, this volume basically covers their trip to Paris with their friends, and like basically all like the main characters apart from like the parents and Tori and Nellie. Nellie weren't in it as much. Like, well, I mean, she wasn't really in it at all, which was so sad, because Nellie is just the epitome of love and just kindness and just amazingness, every pleasant quality there is. Nelly is that. Even though she's a fictional dog. I don't care. Nelly must be saved at all costs. Anyhow, so it basically follows them in Paris, and and how like they discuss more about their relationship. They discuss other like important issues like mental health and like eating disorder, self-harm, like bullying, things like that. And then like Nick comes out as bisexual to like the class, and they come out as a couple, and it's just really nice to watch. And like a lot of it is like based on like the power of like support, and I feel like the issues mentioned are tackled like really well, and how like the power of support, basically support systems, and how to help people, I guess. And yeah, it was really well. And then there's also like more sort of like the side characters in a way, like Tao and Elle's relationship is more blossoming. Tara and Darcy is like talking about like their like relationship, and yeah. And then there's a little teacher romance, which I thought was so cute. And yeah, and this woman made me feel so old. Oh my god, because Mr. Farouk, who is the kind of cute teacher. Let's see if I can find this one. He's meant to be 26. That's 4 years older than me, and the other characters are between 14 and 16, and that's like 6 years younger than me. Wait, is it? Well, yeah, it's 6 to 8 years younger than me, and I'm like, oh. That's felt so old. And then he also like experiences like this idea of like not having experienced these little like cute gay teenage moments. And I'm like, me too. Stop being so relatable. Yes, I did cry again at this book because yeah. But anyway, yeah, so I've only got the 4th one left. Then the final book I read, which I don't have in because it's on lent to my friend at the moment, I literally finished it on the day like I met with her, and I was like, oh, I just finished this, like, do you like the sound of it? Do you want to borrow it? She was like, yeah, okay. So that's why I don't have it to flick through, which I'm kind of sad because I like flicking through things. But anyway, I'm just going to have to do this in my hands instead. That was People in Trouble by Sarah Schulman. I gave that 3.75 stars. And I mean, okay, I did like it. I did enjoy it. It comes from 3 perspectives. Molly, who is a younger lesbian woman. Kate, who is bisexual, I think. Well, yeah, she is, but like, she doesn't admit it to. But anyway, I'll get to after. Who is in a relationship with Molly. In a relationship, you know, it's nothing's secure here. And then the 3rd one is Peter, who is Kate's husband, and Peter is just a very unlovable character. He has like a not very good mindset. He just seems quite a bit just not the best. And okay, yeah, he has been wronged in a way. He's just kind of like a dick. I just didn't really like him that much. Yeah. And then Kate, I feel like the exploration of her sexuality is done quite well, but it's just she has this constant like want to be other from being called like a lesbian, or being like with like lesbians and gay people, like, you know, not like being with them, but like being known as one of them in a way I guess. And I don't know if that's because she really like she knows she is a bisexual person, or it's just that she just doesn't want to be labeled as lesbian. Like, that's just like, no thank you, bye bye. So yeah, that was quite like difficult to read because it's like sort of self-hating, but then it's also affecting like Molly as well a lot. And yeah, I didn't really like her that much. Molly was a bit problematic as well, but she was definitely the best. I much preferred to read her perspectives, like her chapters, more than the other two. And yeah, I also feel like a lot of it is about like the relationships and like sort of these like benign sort of like details and things in a way, whereas I would have much preferred more emphasis on the justice like AIDS awareness group, which I think is like based on ACT UP, which is like a group that works a lot in like New York City during the 1980s, during the AIDS epidemic, when it was filmed, when this was set, and like it's still right now actually. I think it's based on them. That's what I saw in some reviews, and like they had the same like pink triangle and thing. But yeah, like these parts I would have definitely preferred more to read about, and like the actual like out and out queer people that was like okay with being called queer, and just like learning more about them and like their lives, which I thought was like really interesting and like really well like done in a way. I really like that part. Some parts are a little bit like graphic, like about like sort of like elements like homelessness and like AIDS and things like that, which is a little bit quite hard to read. But like it's not fiction. I mean, it's not non-fiction, but these things did happen, and they are painted like very vividly, which I do think is quite well. Yeah. Also, I do kind of I get a bit uncomfortable and a bit irked by the fact that there's inclusion of like homophobic and lesbophobic language, which I just felt was quite uncomfortable. Certain ones I didn't mind as much because they was actually taking it and owning it, which is like what queer people do with like the word queer, for example. And I feel like that was okay to an extent, but then obviously people do need to know that these are like these trigger warnings for certain words, and like about like death and grief and like AIDS and like homelessness and classism and some racist like ideologies in a sense. And it tackles a lot, and like this sort of like open conversation on like certain things like relationship and these like the way people talk and stuff is very like relatable, I feel, and quite like well done, but also a little bit uncomfortable. But it like gives me sort of like Sally Rooney and like conversations with her friends like vibes in a way, because it's also about like affair and like, infidelity. And yeah, I've kind of made that connection. Also, the rich like billionaire guy, Ronald Horn, that was in it, he gives me such Donald Trump vibes. Like he's literally like the 1980s version of Donald Trump, because he has like hotels and like he's like out and out like homophobic and like just misogynistic and just like a horrible person. And I just couldn't stop making that connection between Ronald Horn and Donald Trump. Like it just like Donald. I don't know about you, but I think Sarah was onto something. And it was literally written in like the 90s, based in the 80s. And I'm like, I don't know, but he just gave me those vibes. The ending just like, I don't know why that happened. To be fair, I don't know how I wanted it to end, but it wasn't that. And I was just left like, I don't know. But then at the same time, as you was reading on, you're sort of left with this idea of like, what is actually gonna happen? And yeah, so my opinion was it was okay. Stay tuned. Hope you're doing well, everybody. Have a great day. Love you lots. Bye bye.